Snoop Dogg denied at elite NYC restaurant sparks a cultural movement. How one snub dinner turned into the Unity Feast revolution. Like, comment, and subscribe to be part of the change. It was one of those warm, electric nights in New York City, the kind that feels like something big is about to happen. Snoop Dogg leaned back in the plush seat of his Escalade, the city's rhythm matching his mood. New album? Out. Reviews? Glowing. Friends? Waiting at the spot. Everything lined up for a night of celebration. A text popped up from Marcus, his manager and longtime ride or die. "We're outside the restaurant, man. Can't wait for this spot you picked." Snoop grinned and replied, "Hold tight. I'm pulling up now." This wasn't just dinner, it was a thank you. His crew had been with him through studio marathons, brutal tours, and every high and low in between. Tonight was about appreciation. He rolled up to Lux Dining, a high-end place with all the bougie aesthetics, glass walls, minimal decor, and expensive kind of silence. Snoop stepped out in a tailored suit, spotted Marcus, Leah, and a couple of his young artists waiting by the entrance. "Snoop Dogg in the building," Marcus called, pulling him into a hug. Everyone was laughing, vibing, riding high, until they stepped inside. The place looked like money. Chandeliers, mahogany tables, jazz in the air, everything whispered elite. Snoop approached the hostess stand with a smooth smile. "Reservation for Dogg, party of 6. She barely looked up, typed something, then paused. Her face shifted. "One moment, sir." Leah leaned in, whispering, "She looked at us like we don't belong here." Snoop shrugged. "She's probably just double-checking." But minutes passed. When the hostess returned, her tone was colder. "I'm sorry, Mr. Dogg, but it looks like we don't have your reservation. We're fully booked tonight." The mood flipped. "Nah," Marcus said, frowning. "We confirmed this morning." "I apologize, but there's nothing we can do," she replied, avoiding eye contact. Leah stepped up, heat in her voice. "Fully booked? We just saw empty tables." "Those are for other guests," the hostess said, tight-lipped. Before things could escalate, a man in a tailored suit stepped out. You could tell by the smirk, this was the boss. "Is there an issue?" Snoop turned to him. "Yeah, our reservation apparently disappeared. Can you explain?" "Mr. Dogg," the man said with rehearsed politeness, "we follow our reservation policy. We're at capacity tonight." Marcus lost it. "You're turning away Snoop Dogg? Seriously?" The manager didn't flinch. "We treat all guests equally, sir." People inside were starting to whisper. Faces turned. Cameras clicked. Snoop felt it, that slow burn of humiliation. This wasn't a scheduling error. This was deeper. Colder. He kept his cool. "Let's go." They stepped back out into the night. The laughter was gone. The city lights felt harsher. Inside the car, no one spoke for a moment. Leah finally broke the silence. "We can't let that slide." Snoop nodded, eyes locked on the road ahead. "Oh, we won't. Trust me." As the Escalade rolled away from Lux Dining, a new idea was already forming, one that would turn this moment of exclusion into a national conversation. Stay tuned, because that snub dinner sparked something bigger. The Unity Feast movement had just been born. This wasn't just about being famous. It was about being black. When Snoop Dogg got turned away from that restaurant, it cut deeper than a lost reservation. It was a reminder of something bigger. In a world that still draws invisible lines around who belongs where, it wasn't about fame. It was about race. By the time they reached Leah's place in Brooklyn, the energy in the car had shifted. Tension thick in the air. She looked at him before stepping out and said, "You know what you have to do." The door shut, but her words stayed with him all the way home. Snoop walked into silence. No music, no distractions. Just his phone buzzing nonstop, texts, DMs, mentions, people already talking. Word had spread. Everyone knew. He sat in the living room, staring at the screen. The anger from earlier had cooled, but what was left was sharper. Focused. He couldn't let this go, not for himself, not for his crew, and definitely not for the community that looked up to him. He opened the camera app. Hit record. Tonight, something happened I can't ignore. His voice was calm but full of fire. He told the story not just of what happened at Lux Dining, but of everything behind it. Of a lifetime of being sized up, pushed aside, told where he didn't belong. Of how millions of people had felt that same silent exclusion in stores, in restaurants, and everyday life just because of the color of their skin. He posted the video with one line. It's time for change. By morning, his phone wouldn't stop blowing up. Comments, shares, hashtags, the internet had taken hold. People were reposting clips, headlines exploded, and Lux Dining's name was trending for all the wrong reasons. Their Instagram? Flooded with angry comments and one-star reviews. This wasn't just backlash. This was a reckoning. Marcus called, barely able to contain himself. Bro, have you seen this? Your video is everywhere. People are pissed. Like, full boycott level. Snoop exhaled slowly, scrolling through the hundreds of messages. I've seen it. People are telling their stories. It's way bigger than just me. Exactly, Marcus said. This is about all the nights people like us were turned away, disrespected, made to feel like we didn't belong. This is the moment. We gotta do something. Snoop looked out the window. The city was moving like always, but it felt different now, charged, restless. You're right, he said. But we can't just call them out. We gotta show them who we are. Build something they can't ignore. Say the word, Marcus replied. I'm in. Whatever it takes. Later that day, Leah came over. Her expression said it all. You've seen the comments. People are fed up. We can't waste this energy. Snoop nodded. Marcus is talking protests, boycotts. Forget all that, Leah cut in. We've done it before. It only goes so far. What if we create something instead? Something that proves we don't need their tables, because we've got our own. Snoop raised an eyebrow. Go on. A dinner, she said, her voice picking up steam. But not just food. A full-on celebration. Our culture. Our music. Our chefs. Our people. One night that shows who we are and what we bring to the table. She paused. We call it Unity Feast. Snoop sat with it for a moment. Then he smiled. Unity Feast, he repeated. Yeah. I like that. In the next hour, the vision came to life. It wouldn't just be a response, it would be a statement. A night to celebrate everything that makes the culture powerful, beautiful, and impossible to ignore. And this time, everyone would have a seat at the table. They tried to deny them, but what came next was bigger than anyone expected. As Leah rattled off names of chefs and venues, Snoop's mind was already racing. This wasn't just about putting together one big event. It was about starting something bigger, something that could spread, grow, and inspire others to do the same. A new movement, born not out of anger, but out of unity. By that evening, the word had already started to spread. Leah's post about the dinner was blowing up, thousands of shares, people tagging their favorite chefs, musicians, and artists. You could feel the momentum. People were hungry, not just for food, but for belonging. For a space where they didn't just fit in, they belonged. Marcus called again, practically shouting through the phone. Yo! I just saw Leah's post. People are hyped. We've got chefs volunteering, musicians offering to play, artists donating pieces. This thing is taking off, man. Snoop smiled, his chest swelling with quiet pride. Good. Let's show them what we're really about. But as the excitement built, so did the pushback. Late that night, Lux Dining posted a statement, the usual PR-safe cocktail of misunderstanding, diversity commitment, and we apologize for any inconvenience. But people saw right through it. The apology felt hollow, too late, too polished, too rehearsed. And instead of calming the fire, it just poured gasoline on it. Leah texted Snoop the post with just 2 words. They're scared. He stared at those words for a long time. They should be, he thought. Because this wasn't just about one night or one restaurant. This was about years, decades, of being told who deserves a seat at the table and who doesn't. Snoop could feel that weight, but he also knew something else. The real win wasn't just tearing down that system. It was building something better in its place. That night, he didn't sleep much. His mind was spinning. But not with revenge, with vision. The next morning, Harlem, coffee, and a plan. Snoop sat at his kitchen table in Harlem, a cup of coffee cooling beside him, a blank notebook open in front of him. But his mind? It was anything but blank. The name Leah had dropped, Unity Feast, felt like more than a catchy title now. It was a message. A mission. He started scribbling. Ideas. Names. Venues. What this could mean. His phone buzzed nonstop, texts, DMs, mentions. People offering help, sharing stories, asking how they could get involved. The energy was real, and Snoop knew they couldn't waste it. Leah showed up just after noon, laptop in one hand, energy drink in the other. No small talk. I've got chefs confirmed. And they're not just cooking, they want in on everything, design, promo, decor. All of it. Snoop leaned back, a slow grin spreading across his face. That's what I'm talking about. This ain't just a dinner. This is a message. A celebration of who we are when we come together. They got to work. Leah tapped into her network of musicians. Snoop reached out to artists, creatives, and community leaders across the city. The vision took shape, not just a celebration of black culture, but of the vibrant, diverse heartbeat of New York itself. By mid-afternoon, Marcus burst through the door, still riding that wave of adrenaline. Okay, y'all, big update. I've got names. Big names. Venue options. The meatpacking district's got a warehouse that's perfect, raw, industrial, and open to transforming into whatever we want. Snoop raised an eyebrow. Big names, huh? Marcus just smirked. Let's just say, it's gonna get people talking. The 3 of them stayed at it deep into the evening, hammering out every detail, performers, layout, security, media. They chose the warehouse. Blank canvas. Perfect. A space that could be turned into something bold, beautiful, and real. As the sun dipped below the skyline, Snoop sat back in his chair, drained but lit up inside. This ain't just dinner, he said. It's a statement. We're not begging for seats at someone else's table anymore. We're building our own. Leah nodded, eyes burning with purpose. And we're doing it our way. By the time Marcus left, the Unity Feast wasn't just an idea anymore, it was a plan in motion. The venue was locked. Chefs and performers were lining up. The community was already behind it. Now, they just had to bring it to life. To build momentum for the Unity Feast, Snoop began posting videos across social media, not flashy promotions, but real conversations about the importance of community, culture, and inclusion. In each clip, he spoke candidly, his tone sincere, calling out the subtle, often overlooked forms of discrimination that so many still face. And the response was overwhelming. Support poured in from all corners, fans, artists, activists, everyday people. But along with the love came stories. Painful, familiar stories of being pushed aside, ignored, or told, without words, that they didn't belong. One story in particular hit home. A young woman named Anuka shared her experience. she and her family had been turned away from a restaurant in Queens, despite having a confirmed reservation. She described the shame of standing at the entrance, other diners staring, and the heavy silence that followed when they were told, flatly, there was nothing they could do. The quiet resignation in her words hit hard, not just because it mirrored Snoop's own experience, but because it was so common. Later that night, during one of their long planning sessions, Snoop read Anuka's post out loud to Leah and Marcus. His voice was low, thick with emotion. This is why we're doing this, he said, setting the phone down. It ain't just about what happened to us. It's about all of them. The night before the feast, the warehouse in the meatpacking district was buzzing with energy. Chefs had arrived early, unloading crates of ingredients and setting up makeshift kitchens along the wall. The once raw industrial space was slowly transforming into something extraordinary. Long banquet tables stretched across the room, each draped in crisp white linen, accented with simple but elegant floral centerpieces. Overhead, warm string lights hung from the exposed rafters, casting a soft golden glow across the space. A small stage stood at the far end, where musicians were doing sound checks, their notes drifting through the air like whispers of what was to come. Snoop stood in the center of it all, soaking it in. He watched as his vision took shape before his eyes, a space that felt high-class but still warm, inclusive, and full of soul. A place where no one would ever feel like they didn't belong. Marcus walked over, hands on his hips, surveying the setup. Man, this is something else, he said, shaking his head. You think they're ready for this? Snoop didn't look away from the scene. His voice was calm, steady. They ain't ready, he said. But they're about to be. Leah arrived moments later, clipboard in hand, her energy focused. Everything's on track. Chefs are set, performers are ready, we've got a crew filming the whole thing. Good, Snoop replied. 'Cause this ain't just about tonight. We gotta show the world who we are, and what we can build when we come together. He stepped outside for a moment of quiet. The night air was cool, a welcome contrast to the warmth and bustle inside. He thought of everyone who had messaged him, every story, every voice, every person who had felt small in places that should have embraced them. This was for them. For the kid stared at too long in a corner store. For the family politely told to leave a table they reserved. For every moment of quiet, insidious racism that went unspoken, but never unfelt. This wasn't just a dinner. This was a declaration. The night of the Unity Feast. When evening arrived, the transformation was complete. The warehouse, once a bare and echoing space, had become a glowing haven, alive with color, flavor, and sound. The golden light from the string lights danced across the room, reflecting off white tablecloths and flickering candlelight. Floral arrangements added warmth, while artwork lined the walls, bold paintings, intimate photographs, mixed media pieces, each one telling a story of struggle, beauty, and resilience. The smells alone were enough to stop people in their tracks. A symphony of spices, herbs, and sauces filled the air, flavors from the African diaspora, the Caribbean, Latin America, the American South, each played a story, each chef a storyteller. Guests began arriving, some familiar faces, others not. Artists, activists, community leaders, families, teens, elders, people from every walk of life. And every single one of them was greeted personally by Snoop and his crew. Handshakes, hugs, gratitude. This wasn't just a guest list, it was a community. Some were well-known names. Others were everyday people who had been moved by the message. But they all had one thing in common: they knew what it felt like to be left out. Tonight, they were being welcomed in. The energy was electric. People mingled, laughed, exchanged stories. The art along the walls sparked conversations, reflections, memories. It wasn't just decoration, it was testimony. Snoop, dressed in a perfectly tailored suit, stood near the entrance, watching it all unfold. Marcus handed him a glass of wine. "You see this," he said, gesturing toward the crowd. "This is what it's all about." Snoop nodded, a small but proud smile tugging at his lips. Yeah, man. This is bigger than us. Look at him. They showed up for something real. At the far end of the room, the stage came to life. Musicians played soulful melodies, poets shared pieces that cracked hearts wide open, and a comedian had the whole room howling. Every performer brought something different, but all of it felt connected, a collective expression of pride, pain, joy, and hope. Finally, Leah stepped onto the stage to welcome the guests. Her crimson dress shimmered as she walked across the platform, her presence commanding, her voice warm. The room quieted as she spoke, not because she asked them to, but because they wanted to listen. Good evening, everyone, Leah began, her voice echoing through the warehouse, carried clearly by the mic tonight. We're not just gathering to share a meal, we're here to make a statement. We're here to celebrate who we are, where we come from, and the power of our community. This isn't just a feast, it's a movement. The crowd erupted in applause, the sound rising like a wave through the space. Snoop stood off to the side, watching with quiet pride. Leah had a way with words. She knew how to tap into the collective emotion and say out loud what everyone else was feeling. Soon after, dinner began. Chefs emerged from their stations, carrying dish after dish that reflected the rich cultural roots represented in the room. There was Caribbean jerk chicken, buttery southern biscuits with creamy gravy, fragrant Seagal's TBUN from East Africa. Every plate told a story. The guests savored every bite, sharing stories, laughter, and moments of reflection across long, linen-covered tables. Snoop moved table to table, shaking hands, listening, absorbing. At one table, an older man with salt and pepper hair shared how he'd once been denied service at a Brooklyn diner in the 1960s. His voice trembled slightly. But tonight, he said, eyes shining, tonight feels like healing. Like I'm finally being seen. At another table, a young woman admitted she had almost skipped the event, afraid she might feel out of place. But as she looked around, tears brimming in her eyes, she smiled. Being here, it's like I finally belong somewhere. Those words hit Snoop hard. This exact feeling was what Unity Feast was all about, a place where people could gather without fear or shame, where they could celebrate not only their heritage, but their humanity. As plates were cleared and conversation continued, the performances began. A spoken word poet took the stage, her voice strong and fearless. She delivered a piece on resilience, raw, real, unforgettable. The audience sat in rapt silence, hanging on every word. By the time she stepped down, the applause was thunderous. Then came a jazz band, their soulful melodies washing over the crowd, adding a deep warmth to the already electric atmosphere. Leah slipped into a seat next to Snoop, her face glowing with joy. Can you believe this? She whispered, taking in the scene. Snoop nodded slowly, eyes scanning the room filled with smiling, glowing faces. Yeah, he said. And this is just the beginning. Marcus walked over with a bottle of champagne, his grin wide. I say we toast to that, to the start of something way bigger than any of us. They raised their glasses, the clink barely audible over the sea of laughter and conversation. For once, Snoop wasn't being recognized for his fame or music. He was being seen for something deeper, for creating a space that truly mattered. The highlight of the night. Later, as the music faded and the light softened, Snoop stepped onto the stage. The room quieted instantly. Dressed in a sharp suit, his presence was powerful, but his voice, when he spoke, was grounded in humility. Tonight, he began, pausing to take it all in, we proved something. We proved that we don't need anyone's approval to know our worth. We don't need their tables to feel like we belong. We built our own feast. And let me tell you something, this feast, it's for everybody. The applause exploded, rising into a standing ovation. The energy in the room was electric, alive with pride, unity, and purpose. Snoop lifted his hand gently to quiet the crowd. This isn't just about one night, he continued. It's about changing the game. About making sure that no one, no matter where they come from, what they look like, or how they speak, ever feels like they don't belong. The Unity Feast isn't the end. It's the beginning. And we're just getting started. The cheers that followed were deafening, not just noise, but a shared expression of something deeper: hope, recognition, and the fire of real change. As the night came to a close, many guests lingered, reluctant to leave the warmth of the space they'd helped create. People hugged, exchanged numbers, and stood talking long after dessert had been served. Near the exit, Snoop stayed behind, shaking hands, hugging guests, and taking in every moment. Every thank you, every "I needed this," reinforced the importance of what they had built, not just an event, but a movement. When the last guest finally left, the once crowded warehouse stood quiet. The echoes of laughter and conversation still lingered in the rafters. Leah and Marcus walked over, exhausted but glowing. "We did it," Leah said softly, her eyes full. Snoop looked around the empty space, his expression calm but resolute. "Yeah," he said. "And now we keep going." Disclaimer: all stories shared on this channel are entirely fictional and created for entertainment purposes. We advocate for a world where every person is treated equally under the law, and where society continues to move forward in fairness, development, and unity. These stories are meant to inspire and uplift. Any resemblance to real people, events, or organizations is purely coincidental and unintentional. We do not promote any political or religious agendas. Our goal is simple: to tell stories that make life feel a little better.